Alright guys, in today's video we have more PlayStation and Xbox news to go over and discuss. If you could do me a favor before we dive into multiple topics, make sure you hit the like button to help the video out, subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell notification icon as well. But the first topic we're talking about is a very interesting one in my opinion, because it seems that Microsoft is looking to copy the DualSense features and implement these features into future Xbox controllers. And yes, I do have to use the term copy because, I mean, let's just call it what it is here. Although I can't say I'm too surprised to hear about this. So I definitely want to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to be going over a new report that has come out claiming that the PS5 has sold 4.19 million consoles globally in its first 6 weeks, which is very impressive. And then finally, we're talking a little bit about God of War Ragnarok, as David Jaffe seems to believe that this title will be cross-gen. It is worth noting that he has no direct involvement with the game, so it's not like this is a leak or anything. This is just an opinion, but I do find it interesting, and I do want to kind of just talk a little bit about that, because regardless of whether or not you agree with David Jaffe, I do think that this will make for some interesting conversation. So diving into the first topic here, Microsoft has sent out a survey to Xbox Series X and S owners to gather some feedback on its new console, and the questionnaire specifically asks respondents if they'd like the feature set that comes with the PlayStation 5's DualSense controller. As spotted by Tech Radar, the survey asks respondents to agree or disagree with the following statement, quote, "I am aware of features on PlayStation controllers that I wish were on the controller that came with this console," unquote. The survey further asks respondents if the Xbox Series X feels, quote, next gen, unquote. The DualSense's features have not only been well received by players and critics, they were also praised by Xbox boss Phil Spencer in a November 2020 interview with The Verge. And clearly he likes the controller, and he was well aware by this point, I think, that Sony really did something special with the DualSense. And the reason why I said earlier that I am not surprised to be reading this, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised to be reading about this so soon, but in general, there's a lack of surprise here, because when I started using the DualSense, I mean, but even before I started using the DualSense, we were hearing just how amazing this controller felt, how a lot of people who were going hands-on with the controller before the console was officially out to the public, they were all saying that this is absolutely not a gimmick. Like, this kind of feels like the future of game controllers. This feels like something well beyond anything we felt before. And granted, it's not for everybody. It's, you know, there are a lot of people who do still feel like it's a gimmick. Like, they just turn off the haptic feedback, they turn off the triggers or whatever. And I can understand that as well. Some people just don't want to feel that. But for a lot of people, it really is adding this extra layer of immersion. I mean, playing something like Astrobot, I think really just kind of showcases how much more can be added to the overall experience. And Sony has been very forward thinking with the PlayStation 5 when it comes to trying to make it next gen. And that's why I do find it interesting that this questionnaire is also asking current owners of this console whether or not it feels next gen. Now, if I had to guess, I'm going to say that the majority of them are saying, yes, it does feel next gen, because these are people who went out there who were clearly excited at launch to get this new Xbox, and they paid a lot of money for it. So I think that's just naturally going to make a lot of people hit, yes, it is next gen. But I think there are many more. I think, like, the question we need to ask is, you know, how many people didn't buy this console? I mean, I know Microsoft can't ask this question directly, but how many people didn't buy this console because it just didn't come off as next gen enough for them? I know that there's a lot of people on this channel who don't necessarily, you know, want to go out and buy an Xbox Series X, because it's not like they can't stand Xbox and they want nothing to do with it. I mean, there clearly are those people, but there are also those that just genuinely feel like there's just nothing there on offer to make it feel like it's a next-gen experience. To where with the PS5, you could argue maybe not every single aspect of it feels next-gen, but I'm just going to be honest right now. To me, it seems obvious that the PS5 is the more next-gen console here, and the fact that Microsoft is already looking into incorporating tech that Sony already has in the PS5 with the DualSense, I think is just proof of that. The fact that they're even asking this question, you know, does the Series X feel next-gen? I think that in Microsoft's pursuit of kind of streamlining everything and connecting everything, they may have, you know, kind of sacrificed this whole next-gen feel with their console. But again, I don't know what the answers are. I don't have the data in front of me. I'm just going to assume a lot of people who are answering that are probably saying yes because they are currently Series X owners. I don't own a Series X, so I can't tell you. I can't give you my opinion on it, but I can tell you that I did not pick up a Series X for that reason. There just was nothing there to make me feel like, all right, I want to like get in on this. I feel like I'm missing out on something. And granted, that probably wasn't Microsoft's intention. Is, you know, they weren't intending to make people feel like they were missing out on something. Anyway, I am beginning to ramble here, but the important part here is that Microsoft is apparently planning to incorporate something like haptic feedback or what Sony's doing with the triggers with the DualSense into future Xbox controllers. I have no idea when they're going to do this, obviously, and I have no idea how they're going to do it, because clearly if they do make this the new standard for Xbox controllers, there's going to be a lot of people who already bought the console are like, wait, like, we want that, right? Like, that's who they're asking. They're asking current owners of these consoles. So maybe they'll like send it out to people who already got it. Maybe if you send your controller in or something like that. I don't know exactly how that'll work. Maybe it'll be part of the Xbox Elite V3 controller potentially. But yeah, there we go. Microsoft clearly has been thinking of copying what Sony did here with the DualSense, which I think is a good thing. Now they are just trying to collect data to find out, is this something that, our fans really want? And so, this is where I do have to give a lot of credit to Sony. I don't mean to keep going on here, but, there's a reason why I've been so excited for the PS5, and it's because, sure, maybe Sony, they're not perfect with everything, obviously, but I do think that they've done a pretty good job in trying to actually make the PS5 feel like a true next-gen experience. So, yeah, moving right along here, though, I want to talk about this new report that has come out that claims that the PS5 has sold 4.19 million consoles globally in its first 6 weeks. According to data posted on VG Charts, now, I do want to let you know, VG Charts, they're kind of hit or miss. We don't really know how accurate their data is, but frankly, it's really the only, literally, like the only reference point we have. So that's why we're looking at it. The PS5 has gained an early lead over the Xbox Series X and S in terms of worldwide sales, with Sony's next-gen console reportedly selling 4.19 million units in 6 weeks. By comparison, Microsoft's new systems managed to sell around 2.24 million hardware units worldwide. So there was a weak gap between Sony's system rolling out in certain territories compared to Microsoft's machine. VG Charts has extrapolated from the above data that Sony's new home console currently holds a 46.9% market share. The Switch and the Xbox Series XS are taking 28% and 25.1% respectively. So all in all, it's not a bad start for either company, obviously. Sony's doing better, which is to be expected, but Microsoft's, they're holding their own here. It is good to see the demand in general. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people who just are not big fans of Xbox here on the channel, but I have always said this and I will continue to say this, and that is the more demand we see for consoles in general, whether it be the Switch, although I don't really count the Switch too much simply because that's just not really what I'm interested in. But looking at home consoles like the PS5 and the Series X and S, even though I'm a big PlayStation fan and I want to see PlayStation do well, I do want to see Xbox move a lot of units too, because that just will show that the demand for console gaming in general, that console gaming experience, is still very high. And so, it's also good for competition as well. That's probably even more important. That's an even more important point to make here, is that the better Microsoft does, the more it's going to push Sony to stay on their toes, vice versa. So there you go, 4.19 million in 6 weeks. I think, I don't know what Sony's internal goals were, obviously, but I have to imagine that they're pretty happy with seeing just how in demand their next-gen console really is. So it will be very interesting to see how well both of these consoles continue to sell throughout this year. But to finish off this video, I want to talk briefly about God of War Ragnarok. So God of War creator David Jaffe reckons that the highly anticipated God of War Ragnarok will be a cross-gen release, meaning it will show up on PS4 and PS5, much like Horizon Forbidden West. This has not been officially confirmed yet by Sony Santa Monica, so keep that in mind. Jaffe, the mastermind of the original 2005 God of War for PS2, revealed his comments during a live stream he did playing God of War 2018, he was keen to point out that this was just his opinion on the matter and he does not work for Sony. And so that's exactly why he was able to make these comments. And so he's, somebody who used to be involved with Sony. So I'm assuming because of that, he has some inclination of what Sony is likely to do. But I just kind of wanted to bring this up because I have to say, I do agree with David Jaffe here. I do think that it is likely God of War Ragnarok is going to be a cross-gen title. And I don't think that means it's going to be held back. I think Sony has kind of proven that that's just not going to be a thing we have to worry about. These games are built from the ground up on the PS5. And I do think Sony has made it clear with games like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart that if a developer simply can't get their game to run properly on the PS4, they're just not going to bring it to the PS4. And I'm assuming that if that was the case with games like Horizon Forbidden West or God of War Ragnarok, and they went to Sony and they said, yeah, we can't really get this game working on the PS4 without completely redoing it, then Sony's just going to be like, okay, then it's a PS5 only title. I could be wrong about that. That's just an assumption based on, what I've seen so far. But I do think it would make sense that if Sony can release God of War Ragnarok on the PS4, they probably should, just like they are with Horizon. Because even though I am all about seeing PS5 exclusives and seeing the max potential, pulled from that console, it's going to take some time, no matter how much I want it to happen right now. And I just think it would make sense for them, business-wise, to maximize sales. And, as long as we're not seeing anything obviously held back, then I'm cool with it. But I just think because of how big God of War Ragnarok is going to be and basically the sales potential it has and how many units there are out there of the PS4, I just think it makes a lot of sense that they're going to make it cross-gen. But we're going to have to see. It's kind of in the air. It's 50-50. It could also just be, a PS5 exclusive. We'll have to wait and find out. But that's what David Jaffe thinks as well. So that does it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I will be very interested to see what you have to say. Again, leave the video a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.